Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
We'll open with hockey before we jump into the NFL, because why not, with Canada's foremost NFL expert, Jim Clubberlang, joining us from the Big Smoke. Hey, Jimmy, Leafs, Blackhawks tonight, the Bedard Show. What's your thoughts, bro?
It's the Austin Matthews show here, Rod, in Toronto. Austin Matthews, just the fifth player in the history of the NHL to have back-to-back hat tricks to start the season, first since Ovi. And before that, you have to go back to like the 1910s or 1920s. It's been pretty remarkable, the start he's had this season. But while he's had back-to-back hat tricks, all the media here in Toronto is the Connor Bedard show. And there's been even players in both teams are commenting how much media he's had to deal with. And a few years ago, when Lou Lamoriello was GM, he didn't want rookies like Austin Matthews and others to be in a daily scrum with the media once a week, try to insulate them. And Bedard so far has been with the media like every single day. And there are some people opining whether or not it's not a bad idea, whether you limit Bedard's exposure to the media. Is it really necessary for him to talk every single day? I'm not sure. Yeah, Connor Bedard, Austin Matthews, it's going to be quite an atmosphere at Scotiabank Arena tonight.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
The Connor Bedard Show touches down in Toronto tonight. Yes, Chicago versus the Maple Leafs. Who will have more points tonight? Because Austin Matthews is on a roll, on a heater, and he's older, and it's his rink. I'll say Austin Matthews has more points tonight. Who are you voting for in that poll?
You know what? I'll go with, oh man, it's hard to do. I'll go with Matthews.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
We were both wrong. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RP Show. We're coming at you live on the Game Plus television network and on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE, and the streams and the platforms of podcasts. Wherever you're consuming the show, we're glad to have us be part of your day. I'm in the South Florida studio. As you can see, Darren Moose DuPont is in the Toronto studio, but he could be in the Wynyard studio for that matter. I know you're in the living. Can we get a shot of downtown Toronto, Moose, at some point so we know that you are in the center of the universe? Is there any chance of doing that?
Good idea. Yeah, we'll get some downtown shots. Maybe I got to take the ferry out, give you that really good downtown shot, but we'll work on that.
Put a map of Florida in the background, for God's sake, or put a for sale sign across the front. Slapshot references. It's funny, I really enjoy the Florida Panthers television broadcast because Randy Moeller drops in all these slapshot references during, and I'm sure nobody has any idea what he's talking about but me. It's like our own little secret. Anyways, how do you like us so far? Coming up on the program today, very excited to welcome Rocky DiPietro to the show, Canadian Football Hall of Famer, the CFL Alumni Association Alumnus of the Year, along with Leo Ezrins, Uncle Leo. They'll be honored at the CFL Alumni Luncheon on the Friday of Grey Cup week. And you know how when I say, you don't say Orlando, Florida. You say Orlando, Florida. You don't say Toronto Blue Jays. You say the Toronto Blue Jays. You don't say Rocky DiPietro. It's Rocky DiPietro. You know what I mean? That's some people's names are just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wish I had one of those, you know? But Rocky DiPietro is definitely one of them.
Well, we could Darren DuPont sounds like a game show host. Ladies and gentlemen, Here's your host, Darren DuPont. And I could see you running on stage with a long, skinny microphone like Bob Barker. I got it. You're going to be the next Bob Barker.
Works for me.
I'm trying to talk myself. Trying to talk myself being in a great mood because I'm trying to log in on my YouTube. And I don't know about you, but there's some subscription-based websites that I subscribe to, one of which is the Canadian Press, that after every couple of months you have to clear your browser or you can't get in. And I'm like, I don't want to clear my browser history because it forgets all my passwords. You know that, right? And I'm having a hell of a problem getting into YouTube because of that, because I had to clear my browser to get into my Canadian Press. So that's the biggest problem in my world today. Can you hit the Quick Six show horn, please, Director Jordan, and we'll go from there. Actually, I was telling you on the phone this morning, I'm actually pretty... Hello. 14 degrees Celsius here in South Florida means I can put on long sleeves and not cook to death. I was fiddling with the notion of having to wear long pants today. Thank God I didn't out on my little drive. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice. You can breathe. Not oppressive Florida heat today, and that's your weather report. Point one of the Quick Six show topics here. Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and Nick Castellanos homered to lead the Philadelphia Phillies to a 5-3 win over the Arizona Diamondbacks in Game 1 of the NLCS Monday night. Zach Wheeler struck out 8 in 6 innings to help the defending NL champions win their 7th Game 1 of the last 2 postseasons. Game 2 goes Tuesday night in Philadelphia. And Jonah Heim homered. Nathan Eovaldi pitched 6 effective innings, and the Texas Rangers beat Framber Valdez and the Houston Astros 5-4 to go up 2-0 in the American League Championship Series. Today's a day off in that series. Game 3 goes Wednesday. We're moving on to hockey. It was a rough night, point 2 for Canadian teams in the National Hockey League. The visiting Calgary Flames scored the game's first 2 goals and outshot the Washington Capitals 40-23, but dropped a 3-2 decision in a shootout. Calgary product and former Flames draft pick Matthew Phillips scored the game-tying goal for the Caps. So hang on for a sec. We're coming back on that. And he was named the game's first star. And as far as the other Canadian team, the Leafs, the visiting Chicago Blackhawks scored 3 goals in the second period on the way to a 4-1 win over the Maple Leafs. Neither Connor Bedard nor Austin Matthews had a point in the game. You asked me why I said this was going to be Overreaction Tuesday on the RP show, and I'm not necessarily saying people in Calgary are overreacting, but I'd like to hear from the Flames fans today. And I'm going to get your opinion right away, Darren. I know I've been on a roll to open this show today, but you did the analytics. It's very important to look at analytics. You say, talk about the orders, because when we talk about the orders, ratings go crazy. I don't get it. That's just the way that it is. So you told me that. But we spent a lot of time the last 2 years in Calgary, and I get the angst and the anger. I get it, because I was there long. This Matthew Phillips, he was the first star last night, buried in the minors by Daryl Sutter. Local kid, he's only 5'6". Theo says he's shorter than Theo. Theo says that Matthew Phillips is an inch shorter than him. And he was the first star last night for the Capitals, and they're raging in Calgary, and they're blaming Daryl Sutter. And to be honest, I get it, but what are you going to do now? The guy's already lost his job, right? And you got a new GM in there, too. So all the belly aching in the world, I think they call it navel gazing, looking at your own navel. I say move on, but how they're overreacting like what do you want to fire Daryl again? He's already been fired. Move on. Your thoughts?
You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. You know, I know he's a guy you wanted to bring out of the minors a little more often and get a real good look at the National Hockey League level. But you know what? Coaches and GMs got to do what they think is best for the team. And at the time, you know, Daryl and Brad, I think, thought that keeping Matthew Phillips in the minors was best for the team. Look, the other thing is situation and being in the right environment. Matthew Phillips could be playing on the Calgary Flames and doing nothing. Maybe there's something about the culture in Washington and the people he's playing with and the environment that just works for him that might not have worked in Calgary, right? And Ryan Huskett talked about keeping Dustin Wolf in the minors. I know a lot of Flames fans wish that he was playing and starting every game. But they're going to do what's best for the organization, and they think he's going to be the future still, but he's going to play a lot of games with the Wranglers. But for Matthew Phillips, I mean, it's just a good story for him. Good Western Hockey League kid who had a ton of success there. Now he gets an opportunity in the right environment, and it's great for him. So let's celebrate him and not worry about what could have been.
You're saying it very well, and I appreciate the Flames fans' for answering the bell. Jason in Red Deer from the Puck and Pigskin podcast writes in and says, I, like most Flames fans, was begging for Phillips to be played last season. It didn't happen. There's nothing we can do now but watch the kid shine in Washington, which is a lot of what the Moose just said. This is for your own benefit, everybody. I believe that's why God has put me in this role, to help you and teach you to move on and stop living in the past, or don't. That's entirely up to you. But if you want to be happy, stop living in the past. Nicholas writes in and says, hey, Rod, enough with the analytics. This nonsense has cost teams and GMs losses and jobs. How about using experience and coaching? Nicholas, stand down, because you completely misunderstood what I'm saying. Darren gives me the analytics of our show. It's ratings, reach, demographics, ages, all that. It doesn't look, he just said talk more Oilers, because this is what the numbers say. And I just spent 5 minutes on the Flames. The smart coaches will take those analytics. Chris Jones is a really good example. Read them and then go coach his team based on gut. Analytics are a tool. And if you don't use them, you're an idiot. And if you use them to decide how to run your team, you're an idiot, which is kind of what you're saying. Moving on to the Leafs. Thank you, Paris Hilton. Where'd she ever go, by the way?
Oh, no.
Good question.
The Leafs losing. Yeah, I know, right? 4-1 last night. Makes a sex taping. Gone. Wasn't the best game. I think Bedard, I saw him turnstile John Klingberg. I'm sure you saw that. This wasn't some Prince Albert Raider right defenseman on a Tuesday night. This was John Klingberg. And Bedard made him look like a turnstile, a pylon. So it's fun. I was trying to keep my eye on 3 games last night. Don't even get me started on Monday Night Football, because I did watch a little. I was trying to watch the Leafs and Bedard, the Panthers at the Devils, and the Flames and the Caps. It's hard for a squirrel like me. But the Leafs lost. So you speak for the Leaf Nation today, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Sheldon Keefe summed it up after the game by, saying they didn't get out and dictate the game early. And when you do that and you don't set the tone and control the game early, you're kind of behind the 8 ball the rest of the way. You know what? I thought the Leafs, again, you see where they're at. They're a really good hockey team. They attempted a lot of shots. They controlled a lot of the play. But Chicago did what teams like that are at the bottom and trying to fight their way up towards the playoffs need to do. They protected the middle of the ice really well. Tavares' goal was the only time the Leafs really got to the middle. And then they got key goaltending. And for Bedard, I thought he looked good. You talked about the Klingberg play. There was others. He's driving the net. He's making things happen. He had a couple of shots, but he was just bottled up when it came to the really high-end scoring chances around the net. Overall, it felt like a Monday night game, if that makes sense. It was just kind of ho-hum. There was some chances, but not a lot of high energy and not a lot of real let's go and a lot of drama. So, it was just a weird game last night.
We're looking at NHL leftovers right now. Sam Reinhart moved to the top line and scored 2 goals, and the defending Eastern Conference champion Florida Panthers held off a late rally by New Jersey in posting a 4-3 win over the Devils. Panthers went up 4-0 and then literally had to hang on by their fingernails to get that win, their first of the season, and they come home to host the Leafs Thursday night in the home opener. Moose will have to think about what the bet will be. James Reimer stopped 23 shots in his first start for Detroit. And the Red Wings scored 3 times in the second period in a 4-0 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Our hockey coverage is brought to you in part by Common Crown Brewing Company out of Calgary, Alberta. Head down to the tap room Thursday through Saturday, noon to 8 p.m. Check out Common Crown Brewing at commoncrown.ca. To Monday Night Football, point 3. Dak Prescott threw for 272 yards and a touchdown, and the Dallas Cowboys rebounded from an NFL rout a week ago, beating the LA Chargers 20-17. Dakota completed 21 of 30 passes and also had a rushing touchdown. The Cowboys improved to 4-2 and will enjoy a bye week while the Chargers slip to 2-3. Here's an interesting thing about pressure. I can't even imagine the pressure that's on Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, the coach. Because when they're talking about it, they were talking about it before they even went into the season, right? And they were saying this was a must-win game on a Monday night. Can you imagine playing for a team that's so high profile and so high pressure that every single game is must-win? That's the case for the Dallas Cowboys. And I watched a little bit of it. Hockey was more my focus last night, but they wasn't anything special. They put the ball in the playmakers' hands. CeeDee Lamb for one. Dak rushed for a touchdown himself. Defense played well, kept the Chargers to under 20 points, and Bob's your uncle. But we expect the Cowboys to win every game. I do. And I'm a Cowboys fan. Like, I'm tired of the Cowboys. Listen, bud, I was rowing this morning in front of the television. I had ESPN get up on, and it was all Cowboys. And I'm like, why am I watching this? Last week, it was what's wrong with the Cowboys offense. This week, it's how far can the Cowboys go? Are they Super Bowl contenders? I'm like, why am I watching this? So I finished my row, sped up, and got the hell off. Went for a drive. Why? Because it's just rotting your head. But I could become a Dolphins fan, but I don't want to be enslaved to the local team. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be fanboy for the Dolphins. So I'm still going to be a Cowboys fan. I grew up with that. Just like you. You'll never, I guess Toronto's an NFL town, and you're in Toronto now, so are you going to switch allegiances because you'll always be a Titans fan, huh?
That's right. Yeah, always. And, the Cowboys are interesting. You talk about that, right? Like, they win. It's, okay, can they win the Super Bowl? They lose. The season's over. We got to get rid of Dak. He's not an NFL quarterback. We got to try and get Caleb Williams and it's very emotional, highs and lows. There is no floating in the middle. So that's got to be tough. And the anxiety meds got to be off the shelves in Dallas. Like, there's just out of stock. But the game lost me a little bit. There's too many penalties last night. I didn't like that. And the other one was, though, the big plays. Like they go to CeeDee Lamb late. Micah Parsons makes a big play on Justin Herbert, and that was missing. Justin Herbert had a minute and a half to go down the field, get them into field goal range to tie the game. Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback, wants to be thought of with Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen.
Paid like it.
And if he does, he needs to deliver in those moments. A field goal in that situation needs to be automatic. He should have driven him down the field for a touchdown. And there's just something missing with the Chargers that won't let them get to that next level of top-tier teams, and I don't really know what it is.
My friend Dallas texts me. His name's Dallas. Guess who he cheers for? He goes, America's team, baby. And he puts in all caps, do not switch. I won't. I've come too far. I'm like you, Dallas. I've been with them for too long. I just can't. It's those allegiances you form from when you were younger. They're very hard to break, unless it's an NHL team where I just float around like a street-walking prostitute and I don't care. But with the NFL teams, yeah, I'll always cheer for the Cowboys, but holy moly. That's the beautiful thing. You can just turn it off. And that's what I'm doing. And it saves my mental health. Now, when we come back, we have a very yummy CFL poll question that's got people all revved up. We're going to look at tonight's NHL games and a lot of things to get to. So hang on. We'll be right back. We're only halfway through the Quick Six show topics here in the warm-up on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Ye old RP show continues on this Tuesday. It's episode number 1101. Can you believe there's a lot of people didn't think we would make it to 10 or 1? 1101 today. Let's bring the Moose back in. I'm in South Florida, as you can see. He's in Toronto. And just regarding the Cowboys mania, Carlos in Indianapolis watching says, one nice thing about this show, it's not just one hot take after another on the Dallas Cowboys. From Nelson, our VP of Sim Events, he says, oh, and then it just jumped off my screen. Something along the lines of, he goes, that type of brain rot, here it is, that type of brain rot is what the NFL is built on. Without that depth of discussion, it doesn't have the hype that it has. Right, but you all are here today, which tells me you all want to break just like I do. You can go back to talking about the Cowboys and everything else after this. Fair, Moose? I know that that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, life's about choices, and we will get to the CFL thing. I mean, this is another thing people need to understand. A comment from the streaming made me think of this, and then I lost it here. But I got a parking ticket this morning. You and I was talking to you on the phone. What did I say to you? I said, I'm down on the banks of the Intracoastal here because I want to get out of the house. I was just walking down the banks. If you go to my personal Instagram, you'll see a photo from it. Rod Pedersen Official. I get back to my Jeep, and I got a parking ticket. For a lot of people, that would ruin their day. A lot of people would chase down the parking attendant. It's $35, by the way, and yell at him. But guess what? I parked in the wrong spot. It's on me. It's my fault. So I'll pay the $35 probably by the end of the day and wake up next time. Apparently, because being the prairie dog that I am, landlubber, I guess there's a lot specifically just for trucks and trailers, Darren. Can you imagine? For trucks and trailers. Yeah.
They drive things other than trucks and trailers down there?
Yeah, so I ripped in there with my Jeep, hopped out, Bob's your uncle. Come back, and I got a ticket. I'm like, what? My own fault. I parked in the wrong spot. Anywho, before we jump to that very controversial CFL poll question today, Kirk in Toronto is watching on Game Plus television and writes in on the EMJ Marketing text line 902-518-3033. EMJ Marketing will provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Contact Joe at emjmarketing.com. He says, Rod, could you ask Moose if he will be attending the CFL Eastern Final on November the 11th at 3 p.m.? Over to you.
I probably will not be attending the Eastern Final on November the 11th at 3 p.m. Unfortunately, I believe that's the same day as the Hardy Cup, which I'll have the call for the Hardy Cup. So I'm booked. But maybe otherwise I would have been there for sure.
Welcome to my life, the bane of my existence, which is the inability to be in two places at once. How's it feel? Inevitably, you're going to let somebody down. All of a sudden, you're letting everybody down, Moose. Regarding the Cowboys game last night, and this is what made me think of it. Brian in Hudson Bay writes in, the Moose capital, and he says, good game last night, talking about the Cowboys. Too many penalties, I thought. He goes, they flew in the CFL officials for a while. Justin Herbert wasn't very good. From Brian in Hudson Bay. But here's the thing about penalties. I didn't like it either, man. I was going back and forth between the hockey games, and every play I saw when I watched, there was a flag going up. Punts, all three phases, there's flags. But again, everybody wants to get mad at the refs, but it's like a penalty is a penalty. That's what made me think about the parking ticket. If you don't want a penalty, don't commit an infraction. If you don't want a speeding ticket, don't speed. You're welcome, everybody. Free life advice from the RP show. My God, I hope they're writing this stuff down.
What advice do you have for my nephew?
Writes,
stop breaking the law.
Why is he getting a lot of speeding tickets? Stop breaking the law, you jerk. BW in Edmonton says, is a Jeep really a truck or a crossover vehicle? I once had a Pontiac Aztec. You know, I was telling Serena this. We rented a vehicle in Hamilton one time. We flew in for a CFL game, and it was me. How's this? This sounds like a joke. In this Pontiac Aztec was me, Paul McCallum, Carm Cartieri, and Andrew Green. How about that for an eclectic bunch?
How about that?
And we're driving around from the Hamilton airport, and we're like, I think it was McCallum, said this Pontiac Aztec is real roomy because we're four big guys. And Andrew Green, a former Miami Dolphin offensive lineman who blocked for Dan Marino, says, yeah, roomy and ugly of hell. Anyways, back on point. CFL Grey Cup matchups. Which would you like to see? Because this has a lot of people really annoyed today. And the longtime viewers will know that annoying people is a God-appointed gift of mine. I don't know why. I don't try. It just happens. Annoying people. I'm really good at it. And our daily polls brought to you by Key Auto Group. At Key Auto Group, they're driven by safety. Experience peace of mind with our comprehensive multi-point inspections. Visit keyautogroup.ca for automotive excellence. And Clark came up with this idea of the poll question, and I loved it the second it came out of his mouth. Yeah, buddy.
That's hot.
Which Grey Cup matchup would you like to see the most? Toronto versus Winnipeg. The four options: Toronto versus Winnipeg, Toronto versus BC, or Hamilton versus Winnipeg, or Hamilton versus BC. Predictably, this has people upset in Montreal because they still have a chance. It's got people upset in Calgary because they just get upset about these things. They're not even in a playoff spot. Check the newspaper today, Jeff the Stamps fan, and get back to me. And, of course, Rider fans are always upset. So I had it. So leading the poll, and I'm kind of interested as to why this is, the Grey Cup will be played in Hamilton, Ontario at Tim Hortons Field. And leading the way, the matchup people would like to see the most, Moose, is Hamilton, BC. And I think for a variety of reasons, that's what I voted for. And why did I vote for it? I want to see the hometown team in the Grey Cup. I want to have them sell it out because last I checked, it's not sold out. That would help if the Ticats were in it. And then BC for a change. Winnipeg's gotten too cocky, too full of themselves, and they're no longer the lovable losers. And I'm sure they're fine with that, but we're sick of them. So we'd like to see Hamilton and BC in the Grey Cup. How about you?
I'd like to see Hamilton in it because I'd like the home team in it. I think that team's gotten better. I'd like to see Bo Levi in the Grey Cup. I think that would be really cool. So I would take Hamilton. But you know what? If I want to get sick and twisted here for a second, I kind of want to see Toronto-Winnipeg in the Grey Cup. I do, and that's going to get my vote. Because everybody complained last year that Toronto got lucky in whatever, and they went to play in the rematch, and Toronto didn't play Chad Kelly, and Winnipeg got all upset. So let's have it again. Let's put them on the field again, and let's see if Toronto can beat them one more time. And I think you'd have a lot of hype and storylines, and maybe Winnipeg would travel, and I think it would be a lot of fun. But that would get my vote, and the write-in ballot, if there was a write-in, would be something, again, sick and twisted like Saskatchewan, Montreal, so you can get Cody Fajardo and Jason Moss going against their old team. That would be fun, too.
Yep. As I've often said, any game is interesting. You just got to find the storylines. And I'm not just talking about championship CFL games. Friday night at Boca Community High School. Boca High School is home to the Cardinals-Gibbons Chiefs. I'm going to it, and I may or may not go with Chris Sanford because Chris's nephew is playing that same night, and he depends on whether they're home or on the road. I'll find something interesting about that Florida High School Athletics Association game. That, man, it will have you on the edge of your seat, Darren, because that's what I do. I'm a salesman. I had a guy write me on Twitter and say, Rod, I'm warming up to flag football in the Olympics. Good. I've only been selling it for the last 3 to 4 months. But they're coming around. You got to have somebody advocating for you, somebody waving your flag. John says, I love this show and respect the poll questions, but today's poll sucks. Sorry, Clark. He is from Winnipeg, but he is a Rough Riders fan. I think, John let's be honest. Are you making reservations, flight plans for the Grey Cup to watch your Saskatchewan Roughriders? No, you're not. So get real and get realistic. Because we had to sit here and think about likely Grey Cup scenarios. My favorite team's Montreal because of Cody Fajardo, and I didn't even put him in the poll. You think that didn't hurt my heart? But they got a far better chance, Montreal, of being in the Grey Cup than the Green guys, who have far bigger problems than thinking about who's rooming with who at the Grey Cup. If you're the Saskatchewan Roughriders, agree or disagree, Moose?
Yes, you have far bigger problems. I agree with that. 100%.
Ryan in upstate New York writes in, he says, I'd like to see Montreal in BC or Winnipeg. I want to see if the Owls can win the third game of their matches to win the Grey Cup. Third time's the charm? I'll say it again. They don't have the iconic voices in the CFL anymore like we had when I grew up. That's why I say Rocky DiPietro. That's just a CFL classic name. You know, man, Rod Smith has that voice.
Yes.
But when I think of his voice, I think Kelsey's Roadhouse. You know, I mean, what CFL name right now would you put up with Rocky DiPietro? Because I think of the guys in the 80s saying that. Don Whitman comes to mind first. Is there? Emmanuel Arsenault? Not really. Jake Dolegala. But who's saying that? Nobody. I don't have that anymore.
No. G-Roy was kind of the last guy I can think of. G-Roy's Simon. Like that had something there. But no, there's nobody. And just so you know, there's a Kelsey's Roadhouse just down Dixie here down the street. And every time, and it's on the way to the airport, and every time we drive by, I say that like Rod Smith. I said, hey, Leanne, we should go to Kelsey's Roadhouse. Every time.
Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And do you stop?
Oh, that's good. We haven't gone yet.
John he says, I'm booking my hotel and flight to ... Palm Springs. No. Everybody's writing in with interesting names right now. You're not getting it, and you're the part of the Rod Squad, so I'm not being a jerk here, but they're saying Reggie Beggleton. Well, yes, there are some names, but who says them? Like Don Whitman used to say, Rocky DiPietro. That's what I'm saying. It's about the broadcasters. It's not about the names. Or who's the guy in Ottawa? Dean Brown, I believe, called the 1989 Grey Cup on radio. I still have the tape of it. I do. Jason in Red Deer says, Reggie Beggleton. Sure, great name, but who's saying it like that? Yeah. That's the point. Anyways, Moose, I'll see you in hour 2.
See you then.
Because up next, it's Rocky DiPietro. I can't wait, as you can tell. We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Beautiful day in South Florida. They pretty much all are. Thanks for joining us on the RP Show today. And listen, I don't really mind when we have problems getting the guests on. That's our little secret. Because what it means is more time for me and you. And I can read your comments, and we can all sit here and have fun together. I should read Rocky DiPietro's football resumes just so you all know. So when he does join us, you know, a lot of the people, because we are number one in the 55-plus age demographic in Canada, know his name, but a lot of the younger people would not. But just regarding some of these comments here, regarding Don Whitman, voice of the CFL back in the day, from Herbert, Saskatchewan, if I'm not mistaken. If not Herbert, then Rosthern for sure. I've heard both. John Ohm writes in and says, famous events covered by Don Whitman. Donovan Bailey's 100-meter sprint world record at the 1996 Summer Olympics. And I was watching that in Atlanta. And the infamous brawl between Canada and the Soviet Union at the 1987 World Juniors. Weren't we all watching when Brian Williams and Don Cherry had the very awkward intermission panel on that? Hang on, everybody. Let me get to the Rocky DiPietro bio. This is from Wikipedia. And listen, I could have rattled it off on my own, but it doesn't hurt to go to the big board. Rocky DiPietro is a former CFL receiver for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. During his 14-year career as a slot back and wide receiver, DiPietro became the CFL's all-time pass reception leader in 1989 and had a career total of 706 receptions for 9,762 yards and 45 touchdowns. He retired in 1991 after starring in 4 Grey Cup games, winning it in 1986. He was named to the Tiger Cats Wall of Honor in 1994 and inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 1997. His cousin Paul DiPietro was a member of the 1993 Montreal Canadiens Stanley Cup Championship team. How about that? Oh, should mention where he's from. Sault Ste. Marie. Yeah, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Now, to be honest, this is one of the reasons why we love these players of this era so much. He later became a high school learning strategies / special education teacher and coach of the multiple championship-winning football teams at Lakeshore Catholic High School in Port Colborne, Ontario. How about that? 2-time Shenley Award as Most Outstanding Canadian. All-Canadian slot back twice. All-Division All-Star 4 times. Rocky DiPietro. And apparently, he can't tell time. What do you say, Clark? But that's okay. Like, a build-up like that. Anyways, I'll jump into the sports update. Maybe we'll have Rocky before the end of this segment. Maybe next segment, or maybe not at all. Why are we having him on? Because on Monday he was named, along with Leo Ezrins, my good friend, Uncle Leo. The both of them are sharing the CFL Alumni Association Man of the Year Award, which would, I guess, make them Men of the Year. And they'll be honored at the CFL Legends Luncheon on the Friday of Grey Cup week. Tickets moving well, from what I understand, for that event. But we'll do a sports update now. The Edmonton Oilers seek their first win of the NHL season as they visit the Nashville Predators tonight. The Oilers are coming off a pair of losses, as I'm pretty sure you all know in Canada, to the Vancouver Canucks. In other games, Vancouver is at Philadelphia. Montreal hosts Minnesota, and Winnipeg is home to Los Angeles. The Philadelphia Phillies look to grab a 2-0 series lead as they host the Arizona Diamondbacks in Game 2 of the NLCS tonight. Bryce Harper homered Monday night as the Phillies won 5-3. How about this? Saw this stat today on ESPN, just a little graphic on the bottom of the screen. Diamondbacks, any series in the playoffs that they've lost Game 1, it's happened 5 times, 5 series they've been in, lost Game 1, went on to lose this every series. So it's over. We can all go home now. Philadelphia will send Aaron Nola to the mound today against Arizona's Merrill Kelly. ALCS takes a day off. We'll resume tomorrow. I'm going to throw this in because, as you can all see, I've got time. Kansas is the preseason number 1 in the AP Men's U.S. College Basketball poll. Bear with me. I'll tell you why I'm reading it. The Jayhawks received 46 of 63 first-place votes to outdistance second-place Duke and third-place Purdue. The Blue Devils received 11 first-place votes, and the Boilermakers earned 3. The season begins November 6th. This is the top 25 AP men's NCAA basketball. AP stands for Associated Press, which I subscribe to. And so I got an email from FAU, Florida Atlantic University, just down the street from me. I can walk to the games. I have on occasion. Football. But they went all the way to the Final Four last year if you follow March Madness. It's literally like the only time most of us white Canadian men follow college basketball in the States. Let's be honest about it. Is March Madness. So I knew that FAU went all the way to the Final Four last year. And so I'm thinking, coming back this year, I'm like, I knew I was going to be in Boca in the fall. And I'm like, I should look into tickets. Why not, right? As a matter of fact, I toured around the campus and looked at this won't shock you. The football stadium is immaculate. Howard Schnellenberger Field, 32,000 capacity, beautiful. It looks brand new. I think it's like at least 5 years old. Just a short, scant couple blocks away is the basketball stadium, which is disgusting. Third world. And their basketball team that plays there went all the way to the Final Four. Hell of a lot better than the football team did. But every game is sold out. Every game sold out all year because of that. It's not a very big facility, but they're number 10 in the nation. And why I felt you needed to know that, I'm not sure, other than here we are. Our sports update is brought to you by Common Crown Brewing Company. They have the perfect craft beer for your enjoyment, featuring their Core 5, Good Company Hazy Pale Ale, Common Crown Crafted Lager, Journeyman IPA, Brewmaster Blonde Ale, and Coppersmith Brown Ale, 4 of which sit below 5% ABV, making them the ideal beer for your everyday common affair. And we'll break here right away and come back and do audience takeover. But I do want to congratulate. Do we have an applause sound effect, Clark? Some sort of sound effect for Common Crown. They celebrated their 7th anniversary, had a big party the other night. 7 years they've been around.
Hell yeah.
And I just learned, yeah, there you go. That'll work. I just learned of them this summer through my involvement with the Breaking Free Foundation, Colin Patterson, Theron Fleury, the Flames alumni. They're in year 7. I just heard about them. And that's why with the RP show, we're in year 5 and people are just finding out about us and we're wondering why. Where have you been? Takes a while. But here we are. So get your comments in now. Next hour, by the way, Nick Alberga will join us from the Leaf Nation, the Nation Network. And Moose will be with us too. And maybe Rocky DiPietro. Who the heck knows? We'll be right back on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hi, everybody. It's the final segment of Hour 1. We've already gone through the sports update, so it looks like it's just you and me in audience takeover. And Moose will be back with us in Hour 2. It's interesting. I want to say hey to Kevin the Medium. Our sales coordinator writes in and says, good morning, RP peeps. Jumping on to say hi. Hey, Kevin the Medium. We got some good texts have come in here from the text line, and I could obviously sit here and read them to you and go back and forth all day, and it's starting to look like we will. Nani is the name. Her name. She writes in on the text line, 902-518-3033 for EMJ Marketing. Nani says, hi, Rod. So happy I found your show on the Game Plus network on Shaw Cable in Calgary. I'm a Rider fan who still has season tickets in Regina. It's been a tough year for us. Thanks for sharing your memories of giving a ride to Carm Cartieri, Paul McCallum, and Andrew Green in your rented Aztec. I don't think I was driving. I'm pretty sure Carm was. He liked to have control. He was my radio broadcast partner, and then Paul McCallum and Andrew Green were two players. Really good players. So, yeah, it was a good time, 20 seasons as voice of the Riders. But, you know, the interesting thing, too, is having those stories and those memories, but moving on. You look at now, I'm lucky to have that imprint in Canada where people actually know who I am. In South Florida, we've been starting at ground zero, and it's gone well, too. As you see, Panthers are the team now. And tomorrow we'll be taping a show. Serena and I do a podcast, Cats and Bolts podcast. We've got Ed Jovanovski coming in live into the studios in Podcast Junkies. So, yeah, it's going great. It's been a lot of fun. Stephen in North Dakota writes in and says, greetings and no hallucinations from cloudy 13 degrees, Juneau, North Dakota. That's 13 Celsius. He says, go CFL go. Toronto, Winnipeg is my Grey Cup prediction. And in overtime, Toronto wins. Well, he brings up the poll question today, and it's Clark's idea. I think it's a good one, but if you want to get mad at anybody, blame Clark. What will be the best Grey Cup matchup? What Grey Cup matchup would you like to see as we're getting around to crunch time here? 2 weeks left in the regular season. Would you rather see Toronto in the Grey Cup against either Winnipeg and BC, or would you rather see Hamilton in the Grey Cup against either Hamilton or BC? Or Hamilton in the Grey Cup versus Winnipeg or BC. Clark, what are they saying on YouTube, by the way, if you don't mind me asking? What's leading there? Because I know interest heavily Toronto, Winnipeg. Interesting. Different demographic there on YouTube versus Twitter, I guess. I just feel for change's sake, I'd like to see Winnipeg out of there. They've had their run. They've had their fun. I'm not hating on Winnipeg, but they've won their Grey Cups. Get out of there. It's BC's time. And I want to see Hamilton in the Grey Cup because they're hosting it, and it would sell more tickets. How many people from Toronto are realistically going to come down and go to the Grey Cup? You would know better than me. You people. How about that? From Toronto. Brian in Hudson Bay writes in. He says, Toronto and Winnipeg, for all the reasons the Moose said, with the Argos smashing the Bombers. I can't imagine any real Rider fan actually thinks they would have a chance to be in it. Yeah, I guess that's about as far as I want to go down that road, other than to say legendary Canadian Football Hall of Fame media inductee Bob Hughes, used to have him on my show regularly, newspaper writer. He used to say, the way only he could, he would have his hand on his face and say, oh, one thing you need to know about Rider fans, they're nuts. So they all think that they're not only going to be in the playoffs, but that they're going to be in the Grey Cup. Next hour, we'll kick around more on this poll, but I want to look at tonight's games in the NHL. 9 games in the National Hockey League tonight. We'll preview them. Get your take on those. Will the Oilers get their first win? Will we take a step towards finding out what the Winnipeg Jets are tonight? They got LA in there. Lots to get to next hour. Coming up after this brief pause. Fire some text at us, too, if you want to be part of it. 902-518-3033. We'll be right back on Game Plus and Key Radio.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
The Connor Bedard Show touches down in Toronto tonight. Yes, Chicago versus the Maple Leafs. Who will have more points tonight? Because Austin Matthews is on a roll, on a heater, and he's older, and it's his rink. I'll say Austin Matthews has more points tonight. Who are you voting for in that poll?
You know what? I'll go with. Oh man, it's hard to do. I'll go with Matthews.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. And it's hour 2, coming at you live on the Game Plus television network. Here in beautiful and sunny South Florida. Big football fans down here, big hockey fans too. Welcoming everybody into the show, your favorite daytime show on Game Plus television, WQEE radio, and of course, your favorite podcast platform. You got Moose ready to go? You guys got his camera working? Let's bring him in here. If we can. He's in Toronto. Nice shirt, Moose. And before we delve back into the sports and hockey talk and whatever everybody else would like to talk about, and you too, just so you know, I promised the viewers we would look ahead to tonight's NHL games, as well as some college. Well, we're not going to look ahead to the college football. I'll mention what it is. We're certainly not going to break it down. What I realized, Darren, is that college football was just a really nice appetizer and distraction until the NHL season opened for me. And I can't think that I'm alone. So late August, the month of September, yeah, Coach Prime, we're into it. But now it's kind of a bit odd. I got a lot to get to. But let me just say this. I feel sorry, Darren. What do you see coming in the future here? Because I feel sorry for the youth. Because I just got a document to sign. So all I'll say, and God bless technology and the e-signing that you can do it over your phone now from what it used to be. But it's like, I need it now. Well, I got it an hour ago as we were going to work. I can't get to it. You might have to wait another hour, but I need it now. Well, you're not going to get it now because I'm on live television for another hour, 2 hours total. It's this whole society of I need it and I need it now. You're not going to get it now. So chill. Who's going to win this tug of war of technology, Darren? The old school people that understand patience or the new school people that can't wait and need it now?
It has to swing back a little bit because, you look, there is a lot of benefit in getting it now, needing it now, wanting it now, and having that access.
Sure.
I mean, having a phone and the internet and all that has made the world so much smaller, and it's terrific. But I'll just keep beating the drum. It's expectations versus reality. That person or organization had an expectation that I can send this, he's going to see it, he's going to sign it, and I'll have it in 10 minutes, right? And when reality doesn't meet the expectation, we get anxiety, we get depression, we get, what's wrong? Something's got to be wrong. What's going on? Why isn't he getting it back to me? Does he not want to sign it? Does he not like me? Right? We send a text message, and if we don't see the 3 dots light up instantly, why are they not responding? Clearly they saw it. Do they not like me? Do they not like what I said? Are they ignoring me? Did I do something? Right? And then you get anxiety, and it's all manufactured. Our parents would send us out, and we wouldn't return for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. They wouldn't know where we were when we were coming home. And I'm sure there was anxiety of safety of your kids, but it wasn't the same. You would send a letter in the mail, not expecting to hear back for 6 weeks. And you didn't have anxiety wondering when the message was going to return, right? So we need to have a level of built-in patience and acceptance and understanding that, it's going to happen, but you're just going to have to wait and not spend every living, waking minute consumed by, have they read it? Do they want it? Do they need it? Do they like me?
I learned from an advisor of mine the other day. He said to me, just enjoy where you're at right now because it's pretty chill, and enjoy not being known in South Florida, because I enjoy that, because it's not going to be that way forever, and it's not going to be that way for much longer, and you're going to be relied upon, not just for sports, but for what we're talking about here right now. Nelson writes in our VP of sales events, he says, preach it, RP. In marketing, be it clients versus salespeople, want things yesterday. At the end of the day, it's only marketing. And from Stephen in North Dakota, he says, I want my news for today, yesterday. Yesterday is too long to wait. That's it. It's all, everybody just chill. And that includes us and you and me. You know what I mean? But every single time that I go to a restaurant, more than anything, and I see some kid with a phone jammed up in his face, and they're 1.5, or maybe 6 or 7, and the rest of the family's having a discussion, and they're distracted by a phone, I just think, oh, my God. Future client, because that's what I do.
Yes.
Mental health recovery. They can't even have a conversation at the table. They have to
learn to be dependent on that dopamine shot, and you need it all the time. And you never learn how to be with yourself or how to just chill and wait.
No. Last point on all of this. In my 21 hours of CBT therapy that I received when I was a neurotic psychopath, they said, the leader said, we live in an era of the most incredibly comfortable times. We have heat, we have air conditioning, we have everything at an instant, we have comfort, we have, right? And yet we are the most neurotically screwed up generation in the history of mankind. Most comfortable over here, most screwed up neurotically over here. How does that go together? So, yeah. Okay. From the Barflies in Winnipeg, he writes in and says, what's your TikTok handle, Rod? It's actually funny that he says that because I just said to Darren this morning, I'm not on TikTok. Can you please tell me what they're saying there? And actually, is this right in exactly what I want for this show? The View for sports fans. Any jackwagon can sit and talk about the plus minuses of the Leafs last night in the deep end. Trust me, lots of jackwagons are. And nobody's talking about this. And it's interesting. Back an hour ago, Darren looked at our analytics of our various social media things, and he's like, talk Oilers, because every time you talk Oilers, it's exponentially more views than all the others. And I said, you got to tell me because I'm not on TikTok. I know enough. It's not like I don't know what it is. I have had TikTok. I go on it and go, I can't stand this. I can't stand it. I was raised a house full of Lululemon wearing teenage girls gyrating around. I don't need to go to it on my phone. Trying to be star. You know what I mean? I don't want this. I don't get the sensation of it. And what is the sensation of TikTok, Darren? Why do people love it so much? Because I just don't.
Well, it's not a lot different than Instagram and Reels and other social media platforms. It's just a short form video content. And I think what needs to happen is you need to be on it a little bit to curate your feed. The more you look at things, the more things that are similar will pop into your timeline. So I will say this, the amount that I've been on TikTok, which isn't a ton, the Lululemon wearing, that kind of stuff, doesn't pop up in my timeline anymore. So my timeline is full of sports takes. It's full of food things that, I'm interested in. So it's curated for me, but we have a pretty good fan base on TikTok right now that's growing every day. And they love, it's a place to vent. The comments go kind of crazy on the Oilers, that's for sure right now. They're the topic of the day, it feels like.
You, in that little 60-second summation there, just explain why I don't want to go on TikTok. Because I don't need everybody's take on sports.
Yeah.
I'm sick of the guys on ESPN, and they know what they're talking about. Why the hell would I go listen to a bunch of people that don't know what they're talking about? To the bat phone, which is the EMJ Marketing text line, 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. John Ferguson writes in and says, "Hi, Rod. John here, watching you on Rogers Cable. Great show as usual. You are one of a kind." I get that almost every day. I'm going to take it as a compliment, John. He says, "I wanted to mention our London, Ontario, #1 nationally ranked Western Mustangs football team are playing #3 ranked Laurier Golden Hawks at our Alumni Stadium in London on Saturday at 1 p.m. Both have records of 7-0. We are still waiting for you and Darren to visit us. London is a great sports town. London Knights are off to a good start also." Well, you can write that down, John, that we will be there. I will not speak for Moose. I can't speak for Moose. But I've always wanted to get to London, Ontario. Clark, what did we not all look that up? The most famous, we've had this discussion with John Ferguson. Is Joe Thornton not from London, Ontario? Thornton for sure, and a few other famous NHLers. Yeah, I'd love to come to London for a sports banquet and have us speak there, John, but thank you. My mechanic, Mike, remember in that clip I talked about doing nice things for people? Yeah. When I gave John his gift card to, I said to my mechanic, Mike, because he fixes the Jeep. It's 111 Eastern, by the way. 1111 Mountain, it just turned. Visualize a positive outcome to your current quagmire, everybody.
Beautiful.
What do you got to lose? Anyways, Mike, my mechanic, who reminds me a lot of Graham Edge, if anybody knows that name. Guy that tried to get me to open a sports bar right next to Mosaic Stadium. Thank God that didn't happen. Anyways, Mike said to me, "There aren't very many people out there like you." And I said, "I get that a lot." And again, I'll take that as a compliment. Just the last thing here regarding the neuroticism of society right now. Somebody wrote in and said, "And it's only going to get worse." Oh, great. Okay, Moose. Hang on. I'll get to the comments in a second here. Vancouver Canucks at Philadelphia tonight. Rick Tocchet makes his return to Philly, where he made his name in the National Hockey League. Would it be too mean of me to say to Vancouver Canucks fans to screenshot the Pacific Division standings right now while their team's on top? Because it ain't going to last very long. Or am I wrong in that assessment?
No, like the practical analyst in me says, no, you're not wrong. It's probably not going to last. The expectation for the Canucks should be the playoffs, not to win the division. You know, if we want to set healthy expectations so that reality can meet them and the fan base doesn't get all full of anxiety and depression, we should say, yeah, this isn't going to be the norm. But let them be excited for now. Let them be excited. Great opening start to the season. And I like watching this team play under Rick Tocchet. I think the Vancouver Canucks are a lot of fun to watch right now, and that's really cool.
Thank you, John in Edmonton, chiming in on the comments and says, Rod, why do you think a lot of people still don't want Atlanta, Georgia to get an NHL team again? Or Quebec City? And says, why does the NHL hate Saskatchewan? Great comments for a change from John from Edmonton. They don't hate Atlanta as a hockey town, as a matter of fact, and we're on the radio in Atlanta, so don't get offended, Atlanta. They just don't think they should go back there because it's failed twice before, and they don't think it's a hockey town. The Atlanta hockey fans will tell you that it is. As a matter of fact, I just got a new Twitter follower yesterday from a guy, I can't remember his name. Maybe you know him, Ryan O'Radio. He is the director of ticket operations of the Atlanta Gladiators. He listens to this show. Say it again. The Atlanta Gladiators pro hockey team. It's a thing. And they listen to this show on WQEE, their staff and players. I know, blows everybody's mind. Doesn't blow mine because I get outside the vacuum. I've seen outside the vacuum. There is life outside the vacuum. They don't want to go to Quebec City because of taxes. Period, exclamation mark, end of story. Stop asking. And Saskatchewan, NHL does not hate Saskatchewan. Darren was right with me. I had this premonition a day or two ago that this question was going to come up. And Clark was there too. Clark, did you not take the photo of me and Gary Bettman? You did, didn't you, Clark? If it wasn't you, it was Raphael.
I think so.
It was Raphael, the guy cutting the roast beef. One of the two. Yeah. Clark doesn't remember. Anyways, I said to Gary Bettman, thank you for coming to Saskatchewan, because for 100 years, when I was living in Saskatchewan, we had to go to you to watch the NHL. And now you came to us. This was the Heritage Classic Luncheon. And Gary goes, well, of course. All the players come from Saskatchewan, so it seems only right that we would come to... Do you remember him saying that right beside the buns, Darren?
Yes, I do. Right next to the buns and the butter.
And the Caesar salad bowl.
Yes, they love Saskatchewan. But the issue is it's just nothing that anybody in Saskatchewan can control. It's just population. It's just economy. It's just you got a million people, which is great. The problem is the million people are in a 10-hour radius. They're not in a 90-minute radius. They're not in a 1-hour radius. They're just not, and that's the problem. You know, you can get into these other cities, small markets, where you have the people. It's just simple.
The Barflies wants to know whose buns. Bill Daly's. See, and the one thing is, Jeff the Stamps fan says, Sask folks just have to realize you're too small of a market. Here's the thing, Jeff. Sask fans know that. It was John from Edmonton who asked the question. In Saskatchewan, we've realized we're not getting an NHL team. Stop bringing it up. John from Edmonton, however, did. Nobody's asking. And we'll break and come back with more of this. We got to one NHL game tonight. I'm not done. The Oilers are at Nashville tonight. That's going to be great. But I want to implore people, you have to understand, can you leave it to me? People that say, why are you on the radio in Atlanta? All you talk about is the NHL and CFL. Yeah. Just keep watching and listening, okay? Because they love it there. There is no answer. I don't know why. But they love it. We'll be right back on WQEE Radio, Game Plus Television, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
2 million liters of power creates electricity. Electricity creates.
View Casino. Nestled in the scenic Qu'Appelle Valley, just 20 minutes northwest of Regina, is one of the finest golf courses in all of Saskatchewan, the Deer Valley Golf Club. The clubhouse has a full-service restaurant, and customers can enjoy a casual dining experience with spectacular views of the golf course and valley. A fully stocked golf shop, staffed by PGA of Canada professionals, is equipped to meet all of your golf apparel and equipment needs. Book your tee time, family event, or corporate tournament today at the Deer Valley Golf Club. Call 306-731-1445.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Okay, ye old RP show continues. Oh yeah, did I mention you can get 20% off and free shipping with a promo code TheRPShow at manscaped.com. The Handyman is the facial razor out. I'm telling you, they did it again. Manscaped, they just continue with the technology, the innovation. Take my word for it, it's the size of your iPhone. Imagine that. Fits into your shaving kit, just lickety-split, and charges by USB. I know, right? VRP Show is the promo code. Order it now, manscaped.com. Get 20% off. Let's bring the Moose back in. He is in Toronto. I'm in South Florida. And we'll continue on that chat in a second. But I feel like just saying, where was I before we were rudely interrupted by a break? Can we just... did you hear me saying last hour, Darren, that Common Crown Brewing in Calgary, the beer company, just celebrated their 7th anniversary. They had a big party the other night at the brewery. They're in year 7, and I just heard about them in August at Theron Fleury's golf tournament. Met all the guys from Common Crown. A couple days later, we're in the brewery. Next thing you know, they're sponsoring the show. We're in year 5 and can't figure out how the whole world hasn't heard about us. But we're getting there. And when I was standing on the banks of the Intercoastal Waterway here in Boca Raton this morning, I said to Darren, and you broke out laughing on the phone. I said, we've come a long way when we were just a Facebook show talking about the Rough Riders and the WHL. Because frankly, that was all that I knew. That's all I talked about. It's grown quite a bit in those 5 years. And I will get to the point that I will land the plane here on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE. I was with Bill Lindsay last week, one of the greatest Florida Panthers ever. And he played for the Atlanta Thrashers. So guess what we were talking about in his living room? And his dad, Junie, was there. Man, has he got a hell of a story that I'd like to pass along too. Billy's dad was a miner from Fernie, British Columbia. Tough SOB.
Cool.
So is Bill. Oh, yeah. But Bill goes, Atlanta's awesome. Atlanta's awesome. And he goes, yes, I do think they should get an NHL team there, but the rink can't be downtown. He goes, that's a problem. The arena where we played was downtown. It was very hard to get to. He goes, if it was out in some suburb, some area, and I've never been there, so I can't say whether he's right or not. I don't know. Most city planners and teams will tell you you want to be right downtown. Saskatoon, which we've been talking about, potential NHL market for expansion, they want to put a new arena downtown. Here's Billy saying Atlanta has one downtown, and that's the wrong place. So anyways, before I take it in the next direction, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I don't know about Atlanta as the market. But I remember a lot of stories in conversations on hockey road trips with Jeff Hodges when we were calling games in the Western Hockey League. And same thing. He had great Atlanta road trip stories. He was the captain of the Thrashers for a short time. So great scene. It's one of those cities, on the map in the USA that I think, some players would look forward to. It's another, major market. So it would be kind of neat to get the NHL back to Georgia. But again, as you say, you got to do it right. You got to make sure the arena's in the right place. And everything has to be right. You have to have the right buy-in from the corporate community and everything. So we'll see.
Jay Miller, I appreciate him in Winnipeg, writes in, he says, Sask fans can always jump in the pickup truck and head to their favorite city of Winnipeg for the NHL. And he says that somewhat tongue-in-cheekedly. But here's the thing. I did that with my buddy Jeff Armstead, who might be watching right now. You know Jeff because he watches every day. He had season tickets for a while with the Jets. And we got stopped by a snowstorm. I want to say it was Family Day weekend, holiday. And I had to stay at the Circle 6, Hotel 6 in Headingley, just outside Winnipeg. They closed the highways, which in Saskatchewan, we don't do that. We're not soft in Saskatchewan. We say that the highways are closed because of a blizzard, but we don't actually close them. If you're dumb enough to go, you can go. In Winnipeg, they swing at Manitoba, they swing a gate across the highway. You ain't going nowhere. And I'm like, never again, never again am I going to Winnipeg for a road trip to watch the Jets. I'm sorry. No. And that was before the Vegas Golden Knights happened. And you remember, Darren, because you and I were just getting to know each other at that time. I said, Vegas will be my team. I'll hop on a flight, 2.5 hours, land, wear shorts, and I could walk to the rink from the airport. And that is, by the way, exactly what I did until life had other ideas. Yeah, and I ended up in South Florida, and life is great. Listen, I know people love the stories, and that's why they're here. Because, again, any jackwagon can sit and preview the games. That's what they have betting shows for. That's not what we do. So Billy's dad, Junie, he's 92, and he was not just a coal miner. I think he was a foreman. He was the boss of the men in both Fernie, Utah, and at a coal mine, I believe in Montana. As you know, and the viewers are starting to know, I'm spending a lot of time with the Lindsay family, and I couldn't be more grateful. So we were having lunch one day, and they were telling this story. Here's the difference, everybody. I meant to say this the other day. I'm glad that it came up in my own mind today. Here's the difference between Florida hockey fans and Montreal hockey fans, because Bill's played them both. He said the Montreal Canadiens acquired Bill, whatever year it was, you can look it up, 20-some years ago. And he's forever played wing. Forever. Can you imagine going through junior with the Tri-City Americans, playing at the World Juniors, and then the NHL, and never playing center, just being a wing your whole life? That's what happened to Bill. And Michel Therrien was the coach of the Habs. He throws Bill out, and it was like a critical face-off late in the game, a minute to go. They throw him out. Junie stands up in the crowd and goes, he's not a center. He yells it from the crowd. He was there in the Bell Center. Bill loses the draw. The other team in the defensive zone, whoever they're playing wins, goes to overtime, they lose the game. It might have been a playoff series. Bill says every time he goes to Montreal, they still bring it up there. They still remember. And people will tweet at him and say, oh, yeah, don't put Lindsay out for this critical draw, and they'll tag him on Twitter. He goes, if that had happened in Florida, nobody would remember. They wouldn't remember. And that's just because it's not that they're dumb here. If some Dolphin had missed a block in the AFC Championship game, they would remember that 50 years later. But do you see it was hilarious, though. Couldn't you just see your dad? I know your dad. I could just see him standing up in the crowd yelling, he's not a center! What are you doing? Putting him out to take the draw? My dad would say it. Your dad would say it. Here's Junie saying it.
I know. And it's just wild. And then you go out and lose the draw. And because it's in your mind, too. If you're Bill, you're like, I don't take face-offs. How do I win this draw? Look who I'm going against. I'm probably going to lose this draw. Everything's working against you.
No, but
what he should have done,
is,
the only mistake he made was not getting tossed out of the face-off circle. That's what he should have done.
I could tell these stories for 100 years, and I'm so grateful to have the friendships with these guys for it. But the one thing Bill said, the first game that he came to Florida, they were putting him out at center, and he's like, for some ungodly reason, he was 70% on draws. And he goes, I don't know why. So all of a sudden, Therrien thinks he's a draw man. He goes, I'm not. And I said, it's the one stat that I don't know. What's a good face-off percentage? He's like, anything above 55% is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So anyways, back on point. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, what is Saskatchewan's favorite NHL team? As far as I'm concerned, it's the Oilers, but would you vote for somebody else? I believe it's the Oilers.
It depends where you're from. There's a small cross-section, obviously, of Oilers, Flames, and Jets because they're the closest. Probably the least amount of Jets fans because they left for a while. But then outside of that, you see a real big group of Toronto and Montreal fans because that's who was on TV most of the time.
Yeah. Well, all my friends were Oiler fans. So, but I'm not big-headed enough to speak for your friends or Clark's friends or everybody else's friends. You know. Anybody in Atlanta, by the way, would you mind writing in and letting us know, 902-518-3033, who is Georgia's favorite NHL team? I'd love to know. Is it the Jets? Is it the Flames? I'd love to know. Other NHL games tonight. Oh, Tampa Bay at Buffalo. Sabres 0-2. Montreal Canadiens home to Minnesota. Arizona Coyotes at the Islanders. Kings at Jets, as we mentioned. Oilers at Nashville. It's a doubleheader on ESPN tonight. Are you guys getting that on Sportsnet up there? I know the late game's Colorado at Seattle on the doubleheader. Dallas at the Vegas Golden Knights and the Carolina Hurricanes at San Jose. I'm not really sure what the early game is. I could look it up pretty easily. That is one thing I'd like to start. What is the game of the night? What's everybody's game of the night? I think that would be a lot of fun. We have the poll that we run on our Instagram for what's the NHL game of the night. But you got NLCS Game 2. I'm not chuckling at that. Diamondbacks trailing the Phillies 1-0 on that series. NBA preseason. The Toronto Raptors were at Chicago. If there's anything that I care less about than the NBA preseason, I don't know what it is. That ain't my game of the night. And there's 4. Yeah, they're not playing. I looked, the MLS. But in college football tonight, Middle Tennessee at Liberty, Western Kentucky at Jacksonville State, and Southern Mississippi at Southern Alabama. It's that one conference that wants to play Tuesday nights because they know that they'll get all the attention. Very smart of them. Oh, and by the way, here's a text to come in from Marietta, Georgia. Hi, Rod. It's Mary from Marietta, Georgia. The Florida Panthers are Atlanta's NHL team thanks to the RP show.
How about that?
How about that?
How about that?
You're welcome. You're welcome, Florida Panthers. Leave it to me, okay? Just leave it to me. Rick writes in from Martinsville and says, Saskatchewan fans can pick whoever they want to cheer for in the NHL. We're not tied down. Personally, I've been a long-suffering Islanders fan since the late 80s. I know a lot of Islanders fans. From their 4 straight championships in the early 80s, plus so many that were from Saskatchewan, like Brian Trottier, Clark Gillies, Chico Resch, and the like. Moose, I think you're done. I can handle it the rest of the way. Thanks for your participation.
Thank you. You bet.
We'll be right back. Nick Alberga joins us next from the Nation Network. We will talk some Leafs with you for Clark's benefit in a moment on Game Plus Television, WQEE, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. DDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers, Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
RP Show continues talking some NHL now for Common Crown Brewery out of Calgary. Corey Perry, Tyler Johnson, and Mackenzie Entwistle scored in the second period, and the Chicago Blackhawks beat the Maple Leafs 4-1 in Toronto Monday night. Taylor Radish added an empty netter for the Blackhawks, who are now 2-2. Arvid Soderblom made 34 stops. Blackhawks rookie Connor Bedard was held off the score sheet for the first time in his career, and John Tavares scored for the Leafs, who are now 2-1. Joseph Wall made 27 saves in his first start of the season. You know, Nick Alberga was all over it from the Nation Network. He joins us to talk about it. Earlier, Nick, our co-host Darren Dupont, said it felt like a Monday night game, just a whole lot of nothing going on there in Scotiabank Arena. What did you see?
There's never anything going on at Scotiabank Arena, Rod. It's always great to be with you. It's just one of those buildings, and you've been through a ton in your career as well and covering games and stuff like that. There's just nothing cooking, which is insane to me because Connor Bedard, the Phenom, was in town, and it's game 3 of the season, and the same old story for the Maple Leafs, can't get up for an inferior opponent, a lottery team, which has been a theme for this squad, specifically in the month of October the last couple years, specifically under Sheldon Keefe. So I was a bit stunned at the effort last night. I didn't think they were that bad, but I thought Chicago was opportunistic. And I was talking to a buddy. I'm like, why would any team play their number one goalie against the Leafs? It seems like every time a backup plays against Toronto, they beat them. And as you referenced, Arvid Soderblom, who I'm sure a lot of Leafs fans had no clue was until last night, gets the victory last night.
I didn't know who he was, and I've watched every Chicago game. I don't even know who. I guess it's Peter Mrazek. Yeah. Chicago is not a good team. So there should be some concern that I would think that they came into Toronto and won 4-1.
I'm not sure it's concern. It's like more like, here we go again, can't get up for every game kind of mentality, right? Because I think in the grand scheme of things, we all know this team is headed to the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's just more so the body of work when they get to the springtime, how the team's going to look, how they gel. I think the big concern early on, Rod, is, seemingly the same story every season is them defensively. You add some of these guys, and that's great offensively, guys like John Klingberg. But how does that translate defensively? And so far, the returns are not very good, but albeit we're 3 games into this season, and things seem to rectify themselves through an 82-game slate. So we'll see what happens here.
Thank you for the reminder. I'm usually the one saying that. We got to back up the view here for a second. But of all the newcomers, and there's a lot in that lineup, who's been good so far and who hasn't? You know who I'm talking about: Bertuzzi, Domi, Klingberg, Reeves. Who's met expectations and who hasn't?
It's hilarious that you ask me this question right now because I would think it's funny the way I'm about to answer, but I think Ryan Reeves has made the biggest impact because I think you look at some of the other guys, there's some fleas there. Like Max Domi hasn't been particularly good. Tyler Bertuzzi's taken 5 minor penalties in 3 games. The old Michael Bunting effect. They need one player on the team to be that guy who takes too many penalties. So far, it's been a guy like Tyler Bertuzzi. John Klingberg's been good offensively, defensively. We all knew what he brought to the table or lack thereof. So, I think he's been a mixed bag. So to answer your question, it's probably Ryan Reeves and certain the impact he's brought. A couple scraps so far, a couple offensive opportunities, getting the crowd going a bit. We mentioned how quiet they've been. So Ryan Reeves, weirdly enough, probably my answer, Rod.
Well, it's an interesting market. I've never lived a day in Toronto. I've been there lots. Pressure, I compare it to what I see with the Cowboys and certainly here in Miami with the Dolphins. But, Nick, you guys don't allow that team to take a night off. Yet last night they did. So what's their reaction to it, and what's the buzz in Toronto like today?
I think everybody's used to it. Having said that, going on social media, and you just never know with the algorithms and the shadow banning on X these days, aka Twitter. I have no clue what's going on because we just can't read it anymore. I have no clue what's going on with X. But I think the general sense doing my show earlier today and just social media in general is that people are a bit unhappy, upset. But in the grand scheme of things, and I've never been that guy. I'm usually the sky is falling guy. Like last October, I was going nuts because they were losing to the worst teams in the world. But it is an 82 game slate. You're not going to have it every night. But I think people are wondering if, like, here we go again, because that's the big conversation. It's like sort of like a civil war in this market right now, because you had the Dubasites, the Kyle Dubas crowd. He's gone now in Pittsburgh. And now you have the Brad Treliving crowd, and they feel like this team is the right one to get over the hump. So I think all year long, that's going to be a narrative that's going back and forth. Is this the right team? Because it's a bit of a different style the Leafs are looking to play this season.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the commentary. And but again, you know what? It's the first year under Brad Treliving. It's not like they're going to fire him if they don't achieve their goals. But I will say this, one last thing before we look ahead. I watched the first 2 periods of that game last night and then flipped over to the Panthers and Devils. And the Panthers almost gave it away. But to me, Auston Matthews did not really show up. What did you think about his game last night?
I thought he was good. He had a bunch of shots on net, and I think it's so unrealistic to expect this guy to get a hat trick every game. In fact, he scored late in regulation. It was actually called back due to an offside challenge review, and it happened a couple times in the last couple minutes of that game. But I didn't think he was particularly that bad. I thought he was pretty decent. I thought Nylander was fantastic. Like, there's a lot of pros to grab, and I think along those lines, I was just talking about Ryan Reeves. I think it takes the attention away from some of the big boys, where the story, and understandably so, in recent years has been, you know, the core four and how they react and how they play come the Stanley Cup playoffs. And it will again this time, this year in the springtime. But I think a guy like Ryan Reeves and others like Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi will help to push the narrative elsewhere. And so I'm curious about that. But so far, so good for Auston Matthews this season. I mean, it took him a long, long time last year to get to 6 goals, and he's already there. So I think he's feeling pretty damn good about himself right now.
Good to hear. Now, of course, they've been promoting this home opener here in Florida for all summer. It's Thursday night. Leafs are here. It's a rematch of last year's round 2 series. Any remnants of that in your mind will be in the Leafs' mind, or is it a new season that's distant history?
No, there better be. There better be. Like, it's crazy. 3 games into the season, I'm calling this a measuring stick game, a measuring stick road trip. They got Tampa coming up on Saturday. No Vasilevsky. You have to find a way to win that game. Like, the Lightning can't keep the puck out of the net. It's more so about the 2 guys playing goal than anything else for that team. But, I mean, starting with the Florida Panthers on Thursday, I think you have to set the tone for the way the season has gone. I hope there's a bitter taste in their mouths, considering what transpired in round 2 last spring, where it was a complete no-show after game 2. Like, I'm still befuddled as to what transpired in that series. So, you know, I think they think they're a bit of a different team. You bring Max Domi in, you bring Bertuzzi, you bring Reeves. I think, you know, again, they were a victim of being thrown around a bit in that series. There's some different guys on that roster for the Florida Panthers. Radko Gudas is now with Anaheim, but they still have Matthew Tkachuk. They're pretty banged up right now. I think it is a measuring stick game for the Maple Leafs. And again, there better be some remnants of how they felt last springtime, and I think I want them to set the tone early here for.
Paul Jefferson in Humboldt says, please ask Nick if Minton is staying in Toronto for the season. Thanks.
I don't think so. This is a big storyline to watch over the next couple weeks. He's played 3 games so far, and I think he's realizing really, really quickly that exhibition hockey is not the same as the regular season. And last night specifically, I think there were a couple instances where he's just like a step behind, which is understandable. Like, let's not forget, like, this was a guy who wasn't even on the radar to play in preseason games, never mind the regular season. So it's been a phenomenal story. I think there's no shame in sending him back to junior first and foremost. He'll go back to Kamloops, rip it up once again. And number 2, I think obviously he'll be on the radar for the World Junior team. So I think it's a win all around. I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. Who knows what happens over the next couple games into this road trip. But I would say over the next couple games, Rod, they'll have a pretty good inclination of what they want to do. And on top of that, I think it's important to note there's a lot of people waiting in the wings with the AHL's Marlies that could be guys who can make an impact right away, whether it's a Nick Robertson or a Pontus Holmberg who could slot in up the middle, or even a Bobby McMahon. So they do have some options. I think this Minton story has been fantastic, but do I see him sticking for the duration of the season? Probably not.
Troy in Toronto says, yes, Leaf talk. I am here for it. Good booking, Clark. Well, just with keeping a casual eye on the Leafs, they've got Matthew Nyes up. They've signed Noah Gregor. They got enough young kids, in my opinion, unless I've misread that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a healthy blend, right? Because everything is going to steer through the top six. And I think that was the thinking, too, in bringing two solid wingers in the form of Bertuzzi and Max Domi to the mix. I think they want to create depth. I think the one takeaway I have from teams like Vegas and even like the Carolinas and even St. Louis a couple of years ago, win the cup, like they have the depth up and down. And I think their fourth line can hurt you and their first line can hurt you. And I think when you look at the Leafs specifically, the top three lines can provide offense. Having said that, we just talked about Fraser Minton. The third line hasn't done much. They had a couple opportunities last night, a couple tap-in opportunities for the youngster Minton, and he couldn't score. But certainly in the case of Matthew Nyes, like he's here to stay. He'll be on this team for the season. I think he obviously showed something a bit last spring in playing 10 games, and so far he's been pretty decent. But I think the best move for him would be finding his way, I should say, into the top six. So we'll see if it works out for Matthew Nyes. But I think early on, that's been a story that will be larger and larger, is like how to get some depth scoring going, because it's been the majority of the scoring once again has come from the top six here.
Great update, Nick. I guess while I have you, where does the Twitter handle the Golden Muzzy come from?
Yeah, so I get this a lot. In fact, back in media school, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the name Roger Lajoie, big media personality here in
Of course, the Raj. Yeah. The Raj.
Exactly. So the Raj taught me in school, I guess 12 years ago now, which is crazy. But it was new media class. It was pretty much at the beginning of Twitter. And it was November. I was younger. My mustache came a bit blonder. So I was like, let's go with the Golden Muzzy, not thinking it would stick 13 years later and I'd actually have a legitimate career in broadcasting. So, yeah, here we are, and I can't change it.
The Raj. We know each other from CHL days, Canadian Junior.
Yeah.
Major Junior Hockey League. All right, Nick. Appreciate it, man. Great job. Keep it up.
My pleasure, buddy. Take care.
There you go. The Golden Muzzy joining us from the Nation Network. Leafs Morning Take host. We'll be back with Overtime. Just me and you. Get your questions and comments in now. 902-518-3033. We're live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The sports landscape continues to change, and teams and facilities are under more pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. They need the right team to deliver their product. Look no further than IKS Live. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience across all platforms.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Final segment of the program is always brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes, and it's very appropriate because it's called Overtime. Overtime Hockey Lanes is in Calgary, 28th Street Northeast, where skill and fun collide. You've heard me say it every day. It's an amusement park for hockey players. I walked in and was breathless, and trust me, you will be too. Check them out. They are booking for Christmas parties now. So give them a call today. Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, 28th Street Northeast. They are fully licensed. They got a restaurant and a bar in there. Big screen TV, showing the RP show every day. What are you waiting for? Get on the phone to Overtime Hockey Lanes now. Give them a follow on Instagram as well. Overtime Hockey Lanes. Look it up. Okay, I'm having fun, obviously. Jen from the Four Seasons writes in, we were talking about what's the game of the night. She says, I'm hoping for an Oiler win tonight. They better win. F-bombs will be flying. From Jason in Red Deer says, game of the night for me is seeing if the Oilers have any signs of life. How about that? Oh, man, don't get me started on Suzanne. Don't get me started on Suzanne Summers, Jeff the Stamps fan. He writes it and says, who was Jack Tripper's hottest roommate? Chrissy Snow, Janet Wood, Cousin Cindy, or Terry Eldon? I watched Three's Company for Suzanne Summers. I was going to actually put that in my 10 things column this weekend. I'll say it now. Rest in peace, Suzanne Summers. The only husband worthy of her was Luke Skywalker. And it happened. So rest in peace to Suzanne Summers. She's one of the all-time greats in every regard. Sports update, the Philadelphia Phillies will be aiming to grab a 2-0 lead in the NLCS when they host the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. Aaron Nola will be on the hill for the Phillies, who won Game 1 5-3 last night. The Texas Rangers leading the ALCS 2-0 after sweeping a pair from the Astros in Houston. Will be the home team Wednesday night in Game 3. Rangers edged the Astros 5-4 Monday at Minute Maid Park. Literally, I'm keeping my eye on 3 NHL games last night plus Monday Night Football, and I'm like, baseball playoffs too? Niet. The Toronto Raptors will be in Chicago tonight for NBA preseason play, returning home Friday to play the Washington Wizards. There's less I care about than the NBA preseason. Dakota Prescott threw for 272 yards and a touchdown, and the Dallas Cowboys rebounded from an NFL rout a week ago, beating the LA Chargers 20-17 on Monday Night Football. Cowboys now 4-2. Sports updates for Common Crown Brewing Company. They have the perfect craft beer for your enjoyment, featuring their Core 5, Good Company Hazy Pale Ale, Common Crown Crafted Lager, Journeyman IPA, Brewmaster Blonde Ale, and Coppersmith Brown Ale. 4 of those sit below 5% ABV, making it the perfect beer for your everyday common affair. The best beer is the one that's earned, they say at Common Crown. I know fans love to talk about the expansion thing. And Jersey Jim, I appreciate it. He's watching on Game Plus TV right now in New Jersey. And he says regarding the NHL going to Atlanta, he says lots of competition in Georgia. It's a football state. Can you expect this new Atlanta franchise to be as good as Vegas and Seattle? And will the novelty wear off? It did last time. You're one of those guys, Jersey Jim, that makes me want to prove you wrong. It's like in Ottawa. I know you're not a CFL fan, but it was when the Red Blacks went back there 3rd time. People were saying, why it's failed twice. Oh, it's worked great. Not working now, but it worked real good for the first close to a decade. Let's give it a shot. To say it failed there twice before isn't a good reason in my mind to say, why go back to Atlanta again? Now, again, everybody loves to talk about it. From the tragically peed in Red Deer, he says, I'd rather see Houston and Salt Lake City get teams than a 3rd time in Atlanta. Maybe when Gary gets over the Phoenix fixation, they can move them to Atlanta. Well, Ryan O'Radio in Atlanta sounds like a challenge to me, doesn't it? Let's make it work. The NHL in Atlanta, where we are Atlanta's NHL show. Wake up, Clark. Yawning into the microphone. Yeah, we're out of time for your text messages and streaming comments, so we'll do it all again tomorrow. Thank you to the Golden Muzzy. Thanks for nothing, Rocky DiPietro. What's he tomorrow, Clark? Yeah.
Who has more fun than us?